Okay, enough time has passed. I wanted to give my thoughts on James Gunn's Superman. Some people love it, and some people hate it. Me personally, after seeing it twice,
I mean, it's alright, like...
while it is a fun, light-hearted movie like I wanted, to be perfectly honest, I couldn't help but feel a little underwhelmed. Now, maybe that's because my expectations are just too high for a Superman movie, so maybe I was just being unfair. I wanted to watch it twice before I put my thoughts out there, and on my second viewing I could definitely appreciate it more for what it was, instead of what I was expecting it to be. Now, I'm somewhere in between a casual Superman fan and a huge Superman nerd. Depends on who you ask. So while I do have some legitimate critiques of this movie, in my own opinion, I acknowledge that a lot of these are just personal nitpicks. Now, I'm going to try to keep these split up into sections, but I'm sorry if I go off on tangents. I love the cast. I think they all did a great job with their roles. David Corenswet is a great Superman and Clark Kent. He was charming, likable, and came across as genuinely kind. Superman in this movie is shown as a nice guy who wants to protect life, whether it be a giant monster, human, dog, or even a squirrel apparently. And honestly, it goes with his character, so I'm fine with it. My only critique of David Corenswet is that his Clark Kent disguise and Superman personalities seem to be swapped around. Did anyone else feel that Clark Kent was more assertive than Superman? It's really odd. Hypno glasses or not, I can hear your deep ass voice booming through the Daily Planet, Clark. I can see you, Superman. Rachel Brosnahan was fun, cute, passionate, and never came across as mean-spirited or bossy, which I feel like is an easy mistake to make with this character. Lois and Clark had great chemistry together for the few scenes that they were in. Nicholas Hoult was great as Lex, and I always enjoyed when he was on screen. I really felt this Lex's obsession and hatred for Superman. If there was anything bad to say about him, I think it's just that the writing made him seem a bit too whiny sometimes. But I can forgive that because again, it seems like it's a younger Lex. And Holt does a great job at being an unhinged, petty asshole. Crypto was cute, the Justice Gang was great, except for Hawkgirl who didn't really have much to do. Jimmy was funny, I enjoyed his little side plot. Lombard, I had no idea what he was saying most of the time, but for some reason he made me laugh. In my opinion, the music and the characterizations are doing the bulk of the heavy lifting in this movie. Listening to the climax of Last Sun is incredibly inspiring. I love how they reimagined that section of the theme and used it to represent the core of Clark's character. I love the simplicity of it. The same goes for Your Choices, Your Actions. When those notes are building at the end, with that acoustic guitar and piano, the choir coming in at the very end, and I can imagine Jonathan saying that he's so proud of Clark. It's fucking beautiful. It's simple and it works. But on the other hand, and you probably know what I'm going to say, it's that I think this score relies too much on it and doesn't really offer much else outside of that. The music in this movie being so inspired by the John Williams score is both a good thing and a bad thing. The score is good for what it is, but for some reason it feels unfinished. What's there is great, but it feels like they could have done more with it. Where it falls a little short is a lot of these tracks use the same John Williams motif, which, while good, also gets a bit repetitive throughout the movie. I think the fight scenes overuse the theme the most, to be honest. That's the problem with this theme. It's so iconic and it's so powerful, but the more you use it, the less special it becomes. In my opinion, save it for the big triumphant moments where it counts instead of every few minutes in an action scene. On a similar note, during the Superman vs Ultraman fight, he beats him down for a bit after Krypto shows up, and then there's this big music sting where Superman poses, and it seems triumphant, but all he did was knock him down for a second. The music loses momentum and then immediately picks up again, and it's just really jarring. But honestly, I think it's more of a problem with the editing, like most of the movie, and the music just had to awkwardly fill in the gaps. Cinematography. This is going to be a really short section, but these are the only nitpicks I have on this. The constant close-ups on David Corenswet's face while Superman's flying. Look, he's a good-looking man, but come on, his face is the least interesting part of the flying scenes. I want to see the landscapes he's flying over. The very few shots of the camera behind him, I wanted more of that. The close-up shots during the crazy CGI action scenes, especially during the pocket dimension pixelated river scene. I don't know, maybe I'm just getting old, but that was really unpleasant to look at. Take the camera back sometimes to just let us see what's going on. But besides that, loved how the movie looked. Everything was colorful and beautiful, just nice to look at besides those few nitpicks. Okay, here's my problem with the plot. It's really messy, and it could have been done much simpler and more effective in my opinion. I honestly think that my main issues with this movie could have been solved with either more time or less time devoted to certain things. I understand that James Gunn wanted it to be more like a comic book, specifically All-Star Superman, But that comic is more like a collection of short stories, which I feel doesn't work well as a movie. A TV show for sure, but not a film. I love that he took inspiration from All-Star for the characters, don't get me wrong. And I love those interpretations, but this film ends up trying to squeeze in so much without enough time, and what we're left with are ideas, plot points, and character arcs that aren't fully fleshed out, in my opinion. So in the end, there wasn't really a good emotional payoff when the movie was expecting me to have one. I understand that a lot of people enjoyed it and found it very heartfelt, so hey, I'm happy for you, believe me. But for me, I think they needed to lean into it more. I feel like the movie, the opening and the movie in general, has a lot of telling, not showing. A big criticism I've seen is that Gunn kept undercutting a lot of the heartfelt moments with comedy, and I kind of agree. Which is weird because he knew how to let the moment sit in Guardians when it was appropriate, so I don't understand. And I think this is an unpopular opinion, but I think the whole subplot with Lois and Mr. Terrific could have been written out. I know he was probably one of the more entertaining parts of the movie, but those two really don't end up doing anything in their little subplot. They find the portal through following a very easy trail, and eventually locate Superman after he's already escaped, and they just kind of wait by the exit for them all to fly through. So it felt like time kind of wasted in my opinion. And if you still wanted to show off Mr. Terrific, maybe show it when they help out in Jaranpur. I really think they should have scrapped the whole pocket dimension escape scene. With the bright CGI Minecraft looking lava river and the camera being so close, it was just too much that eventually just washed over me, and I kind of checked out, to be honest. And this is an even bigger nitpick, but if he was that weak from the kryptonite poisoning that he couldn't fly out, then it makes no sense that his super breath is what saved them. Alright, in this part I'm going to talk about parts of the plot that were there that I liked, but I just wanted more of. I think it's a big missed opportunity that the film didn't open with Superman interfering in the conflict. I mean, just picture it. It could have opened with news reports of growing tensions between the countries, followed by Baravia invading Jaranpur. Imagine one of the Jaranpurian civilians is running and cowering in fear, closes their eyes, opens them to see the shield, the theme music swells, and Superman just lets him know it's going to be okay, he's here to help. You could then even show him confronting the Baravian president. You could even not show this interaction and reveal it later, and then the public is turning on Superman, thinking he brutally tortured the leader when we know what actually happened. Anyway, Superman says goodbye to the civilians, the Last Sun theme music swells as he flies through the sky, and the camera pans onto the shield and the title card appears. And you might say, that is really corny and lame. Yes, that's the point. This movie pushes an unapologetically heartfelt, sincere, and inspiring Superman, which is perfect. But the plot doesn't show that enough in my opinion. Lois and Jimmy could have had more time together investigating Lex and the war to clear Superman's name, which I think would have balanced out the film a lot more. As it stands now, these characters don't really do much. Most of it is handled by Jimmy getting all the evidence from Tess, which is an easy fix, and it saves time, but it doesn't let Lois shine as an investigative reporter. I think they could have gone further with Clark's arc. Clark's arc? That's weird to say. They have the foundation of the arc, but I think if they followed through with it more, it would have had a much better emotional impact for me. The decoded message can be released and the public can be pushed over the edge and completely turn on Superman. This can coincide with Luthor getting permission to take Superman into custody. And if you wanted a fight between Ultraman and Superman, I feel like this is a good place to put it. Because Superman is already vulnerable because of the message, the public hating him, Krypto's missing. You could have even had Ultraman ambush Superman at the fortress so you can have him be beaten down in almost every way. It would have been great to see Superman fight when he's vulnerable, and let us feel the impact of when he finally loses a fight, which the movie stresses in the beginning, but it doesn't show you how he feels about it. He just kind of gets up and goes right back into it. Nothing comes of it. Anyway. He gets imprisoned, he gets tortured with kryptonite, and to top it all off, that poor civilian gets killed in front of him. And this is how you can start building him back up. It's the classic Rocky trope. The point is to show that Superman is a man, and no matter how bad it seems, there's always a way. Anyway, Superman escapes, goes back to the farm to recover from the kryptonite poisoning. I love the moment with Park Kent, but they just didn't let the scene breathe long enough because they didn't give it the time. They wasted too much time on other stuff and we don't get enough of this stuff. Have a scene where Clark pleads with the Justice Gang and convinces them to help in the Baravian invasion. Have Lois and Jimmy show them all the evidence they uncovered about Lex. This is important because you could leave it ambiguous if you still want the surprise later, but still have it not come out of nowhere that these guys would help out in an overseas conflict despite the fact that they never did it before. Superman can end up fighting Ultraman and Engineer, but in my opinion, Superman shouldn't have blatantly killed Ultraman. If you make it a point that Superman cares that much about life, then I feel like you should have tried to reach out to him more as a human being. Because if you think about it, this is a clone that has never had a chance to lead a normal life, and has only been taught to follow orders and destroy. Now, I'm not saying that you have to turn him. I'm pretty sure that Lex said at some point, like, he's dumber than he is, so he's probably not capable of complex thoughts, and he can literally only fight and follow orders. You could still have Superman just try to get through to him, and then just, if he definitely can't, he can't. I understand them maybe wanting to use Ultraman for something else in the future, but they didn't leave it vague. They wrote it as Superman intentionally knocks him into a black hole, which they already stated will kill anything that enters. At the moment, they kind of play it off as a joke, and they don't even acknowledge that he just killed a guy. And I'm not against Superman killing, don't get me wrong. Like, if he has to, and that's the only way that you can win the fight, and there's no way that you can get through to this person, you gotta do what you gotta do. To top off Clark's emotional journey, I feel like Superman should have had a big inspirational moment during his fight with Ultraman. Mr. Terrific could hack into Lex's devices that have been recording the fight, let the people of the world see Lex beating Superman down, and that's when Superman can find the strength to persevere. Hell, if you wanted to, you could even take the speech that Superman gives to Lex later and put it in this moment, and then you could have a big triumphant moment where he defeats Ultraman. I like that the movie ended on a very wholesome note. It's very Superman. I love that he was watching the video footage of his parents. Not a huge fan of the song they decided to play during it, but it's fine. I mean, that's what Clark would listen to in this interpretation, so that's fine. One thing that I personally wanted to see, which I think would have gone a long way, is have a little montage. If you wanted to have him listening to that music and watching the footage of his parents, in my mind, if you picture that song playing and you intercut it with Clark helping someone get their cat out of a tree, for example, just tiny little slice of life moments. And you could end the film with Clark flying over the city, the country, the planet, however you want it, and you cut back to him watching the footage, and it fades out. I don't know, that sounds extra corny, but like I said, if you're gonna go for it, go all the way. As much as I critique this movie, and I know it seems like I really don't like it, I actually really like this version of Superman. We're heading into a new age, and I'm here for it. I'm still gonna have my nitpicks because I'm a nerd. At the end of the day, I'm glad this movie exists. Even though I was a bit underwhelmed by it, I'm happy that Superman is finally being portrayed faithfully. Some people really don't like this version of Superman because, he's too nice and whatever. Some people may not like James Gunn, but regardless of your opinion on him, I feel like he's breathing new life into these characters. But at the end of the day, for Superman, is when shit hits the fan, I want to know that the flying man in the sky, who has the powers of a god, is actually just a really nice and humble guy. And he's looking out for us. I don't know how long this video is going to end up being, but if you stuck around, thanks. You're probably looking for more comic adaptations like I usually post on this channel. You're probably wanting me to finish Nightfall, and that's more than fair. And I'll get to them, don't worry. It is just me doing all this, so it takes me a long time. Life. But I appreciate the comments regardless. It's nice to know that people are still interested. Anyway, take care of yourselves. See ya.